Previously on Horrible Film Recaps.
What the hell?
Get off my plane.
Say, Chubby Bunny.
And now on to our feature presentation. The name of this movie is, well, I don't know. A title hasn't come up. Well, I see a lot of bats, so it must be that Lou Diamond Phillips movie, which I can't recall the name of. Or maybe it's the Secret Garden movie. I guess I will never know. Oh well.
Meanwhile, behind the facade of this innocent-looking
Prison cell, Jim Graham wakes to find himself still in a World War II prison camp. Well, that's more than the employees at the Lizard Squishins company gets in a week. Jim's prison life is not all fun and games. As he was led to believe, the prison patrons enjoy the slide and mud pit playground. Because of his ruffian antics, Jim is forcibly taken to time out. Sent to bed without supper, Jim meets the head of the Newsies Brigade and owner of a paper mill that prints newspapers, Brian Mills. He tells Jim,
I know who you are. If you are looking to become a newsie, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of mills. Mills I have acquired over a very long career. If you let me teach you to be a newsie, I will not pressure you. But if you don't want to be a newsie, I will look for you. I will find you and I will kill you.
Jim agrees and first learns what it is like to be a bundle of newspapers thrown from a truck. The secret art of drying wet newspapers. Jim has been sent to the land of far away. Jim goes to the convenient paper mill in the mountains. Haven't gotten to the mill. He goes to talk to the secretary and finally meets the other newsies. If he wants in, he has to give a deposit of a pretty flower, which will not be refunded when he leaves. Brian tells him the first rule of newsies is, well, I don't have to tell you, damn it. It's such a cliché.
Meanwhile,
The boy in the well dreams of life on the surface, like not having to use his stupid legs anymore, muttering in a soaked bed, having to look at things people point at, or being forced to watch Idris Elba in the Cats movie. I guess well living is the life for him. With enough rabies-flavoured food to last a lifetime, Jim's a pole dancer dancing for money. Brian and Jim perform the Ice Capade's version of Duel of the Fates. They really must fix that hole on the second floor. Salt explodes when it comes in contact with wood. Until he learns, he stays in the cage. Jim takes a tour of the sheep museum. He didn't look to see if Norman's mother is behind him. If you're going to wear that shirt, you'd better carry a gun. That's exactly where a woman should be at all times. Somebody better check if Quetzalcoatl's offspring is up there. The runner-up is not happy about losing the Miss America tiara to a man. Dude, don't be hating on the water. Tumble dry your coat in a dryer. Not the street. To become a true newsie, you must drink stinkweed and bladder-infected yak urine. Available now from Lizard Squishins. The newsies line up for an impromptu dance-off. Oh, it's one of them butterfly birthday boxes. He chose poorly. Now you have to lick my red-hot poker. Brian wants Jim to conduct the benevolent Newsies Society men's chorus. Don't leave your kids' oily rags and gunpowder out where fire can get at it. Spired explosive oatmeal will explode if not eaten before the expiration explosion date. Luckily for Brian, Jim is the fastest belly whopper in the world. He can plainly see that. That is a plane. Jim finds that there's a bat in my house. Batty, batty, batty. He descends the stairs, just like Rocky didn't in that movie. Having found a rent-free cave for the new newsy hideout, he calls to the bats to kill the indigenous fraggles that live there. I am so bored of this scene. She's attempting to help him whack his balls. Red tells Jim that he's known to locate things from time to time, but if Jim gets caught with it, we never do business again. He shows Jim the latest in newsy strap technology and handheld paper launchers. Red shows him his Dune cosplay outfit. Having dumped all the Fraggle corpses in the drinking water behind him, Jim starts construction on the Newsies' hideout. This is the old Chuddervator. Hoagie lets Jim know he can build his hideout from the money he made from Jaws the Revenge. Running your hand under the waterfall will warm it up faster. Hoagie shows him some of his erotic shark drawings and fan fiction. Use the stairs. That's why they're there, silly goose. Red tells Jim he's got something bad to show him. The power glove then activates Red's Wii U. Jim doesn't have an interest in console gaming, however, and asks to see the Tesla Cybertruck instead. After a few hours in the test drive Hyperloop, Jim tells Red that, although it's fun to drive, the fact that rust spots are already appearing concerns him. He must have studied, and in studying, he must have learned that man is mortal, so he would have put the poison as far from himself. There will be no Halloween this year. Is he hoping for a belt genie to come out? Jim will cosplay as Johnny Twizzlerhands for Comic-Con. Usually you just make an ashtray in shop class. The non-newsies are loading newspapers that have to hit the streets by Thursday. Watch out! Some trailers have a taste for human flesh. The warranty on those light bulbs expired. Is he gonna kiss him? Tradudius electrosis! Jim judges her magic. Jim doesn't acknowledge the predator waving from the roof across the street. Man, it's good to be a newsie. This old man gets sprayed with talcum powder. This causes him to freak out because he thinks he's missing Matlock. Drexel puts out his trash. Unaware that Jim is judging him, Jim informs Hot Dog Harry he should not eat and bungee jump, stumbling upon the apartment of George and Lenny. Jim spontaneously combusts. Jim says, "I'm gonna die. I know it. You're hurt. You're hurt real bad." Since neither Jill nor Rebecca are here, Jim has to open the hidden panel. Red turns on his replicant attractor to see if it actually works. At Wonka's lab, these Oompa Loompas are busy dumping talcum powder into the chocolate river. She gets a face full of free-floating talcum fog. Jim is appalled at the haphazard state at the warehouse, with guns drawn. The Rebel Strike Team, a.k.a. the Star Wars Attack Team, storm through the bunker door and into the main control staircase. Before he can do anything, Jim has to give his sneakers a pump. "Camaleo," Jim says. The crystal bats are like, "Okay, we'll show up." The bat-resistant windows prove to be ineffective. Annoyed by the bats, Jim mentally disables the lock. As he walks past the slackers, he judges them, needing to return some videotapes. Jim ignores all the lessons he learned in driver's ed. The Terminator 2 waves at Jim as he flies by. As Jim passes the toll booth guy, he judges him. Jim says, "That's where they got that Picasso." "This is definitely Lower Wacker Drive," Jim says. Not having pockets for change, Jim ain't gonna pay no toll. Jumping out of his Yugo, he runs to go potty. Jim dons his American Psycho disguise to blend in with normal people. Because he didn't make his monthly payment, these firefighters are putting the fire back in his house. Brian shows up to tell Jim he's a lousy newsie and his house seems to be on fire. Hoagie finally gets his revenge by throttling this shark with his shark whacking stick. Safety tip: don't leave your stoves on in every room. Welcome to the Disneyland New York monorail ride. Well, I was born in a smog town, and I live in a smog town. Probably die in a smog town with little air quality. To fight a newsie, you gotta become a newsie. Jim runs over Gollum's bicycle as he exits the cave. Jim is grateful to be gliding through a free-floating talcum powder cloud, as his rubber suit doesn't breathe very well, and he was beginning to chafe. The newsies tell Jim that the talcum fog is too thick and they can't deliver their papers. With his eyes and mouth so bright, Jim will guide the newsies' sled tonight. The mob judges Jim harshly, calling him a poor newsie for not delivering their subscriptions. But as soon as Jim recovers his newspaper gun, he's back on his route to prove himself. The Direct Delivery Digest director becomes alarmed at the rate of cancelled newspaper subscriptions. Jim has to hitch a ride because he's too poor to buy a monorail ticket. Newsies have window-smashing paper power, looking at Jim with eyes like a cockeyed, coked-out beaver. "Do you have a ticket?" says Brian, looking at Brian with eyes like a spastic chipmunk with attention deficit disorder and a sinus headache. Jim says, "No, I don't have a ticket. Get off my train," says Brian, to avenge the death of their comrades. The surviving indigenous Fraggles strike back by taking out the city's infrastructure. Brian uses his Jedi powers to make the monorail fly, well, more like turn it into a subway. The director is relieved when he realizes that he can hire more than one newsie. Hoagie brags to Jim about getting his name in the paper for world record-breaking shark whackings. Jim decides to give the well-dwelling child a roof to silence his caterwauling. Drexel thanks Jim for delivering his paper and gives him a monorail ticket. Since the monorail crashed and the ticket is useless, Jim jumps to his death. Wait, this movie is Batman Begins? I love that film. I think I'll give it a watch. This concludes the movie recap. In the war between printed media and those who control it, I learned that the real winners are the indigenous Fraggles. They'll wreck our infrastructure. Old school. Good day to you all. If you enjoy my nonsensical ramblings, please like, subscribe and leave a comment.